Perhaps the most shocking part of this is that Bayern were up 2-0 in the first half, blow the 2-goal lead, and end up suffering their first defeat in 21 games across all competitions. Really remarkable stuff. You've got to go back to last September, that 4-1 shocker against Hoffenheim for their last defeat. There you see just how good Bayern have been in their last 21. Jan, how do we explain what happened today?
Well, I don't think we can explain it because it's always breaking news when Bayern are losing. And this is a crisis. This is how the German football is. When Bayern losing, nobody understands it. But when we saw the game today, 2-0 up with a penalty, someone losing his head there and making a penalty, and then you had Goretzka making it 2-0, you felt, well, this is going to be Bayern's again. But if you've seen Bayern this season, they were always able to concede goals. And that's what was happened today. But, I mean, we are all amazed that they came back and losing, because Hoffmann's 2 goals, well taken. Neuhaus then right after the half-time. And you just felt this is typical Bayern. They will end up winning 5-3 this time. But it wasn't to be. And thank God for us who loved to see an excitement in the German Bundesliga. Gladbach beating them 3-2. A great win from Marco Rose. And you saw after the game, I mean, that was one of his best wins of his coaching career.
Craig, very interesting match. I mean, we're accustomed to seeing Bayern somewhat vulnerable, but never like this. What'd you make of it?
Listen, don't ask me about the game. Just ask Stevie about Niklas Sule, and then we can.
I'm saving that. I'm saving that.
I want to take a break. I mean, I just want to sit here and listen, and you know.
First thing I did, let me.
No, the first thing that I heard when I came on and we were getting all set up for the show here. The first connection I heard when that wire went in and I went through to the studio, I heard the word Sule mentioned. And as I was watching the game, I thought about Stevie because, oh my God, he looked like a big cart horse at times, didn't he?
Yeah, a lot to pick at in this Bayern performance, but Niklas Sule right at the top of that list, yeah?
You know, when you said to Jan, how do we explain this? It's really simple. Niklas Sule. I mean, honestly, the first 2 goals, he's played his man on side, 2-2, and then he's the one that gives the ball away, 25 yards from goal for the 3rd goal. So in my opinion, it's really simple. You saw the stats. Bayern had plenty of shots. They scored 2 goals away from home. So when you score 2 goals away from home and you lose the game, it's clear where the problem is. And it might seem a little harsh, but the problem is Niklas Sule.
Yeah. Jan, is it harsh? I mean, this guy's a player for Germany. This guy's a player for Bayern Munich. We should expect a higher level.
Well, yes, and sometimes his body language kind of annoys us anyway, because we think he is slow. He's not that slow, but today his positioning was very, very bad. But there were always today in the game. You saw Kimmich losing the ball there as well for one of the goals. But Sule's positioning was dreadful today. And if you play against Gladbach, there are so many potential goal scorers in that team. So if you're out of position, they can come from midfield, they can come from left, they can come from right. They got big, strong strikers. So then you have to have your defense in place. And Bayern, we have to say, they're a great team, but they have been struggling with that back four. And when they're standing high, as Bayern always love to do, and you don't do your job, well, then you concede 3 goals against Gladbach.
Jan, you talk about that high line. Hansi Flick has done an amazing job since he got to Bayern Munich. But does he ever get any criticism? Because the vulnerabilities remain with this Bayern team. It's not like they're getting better defensively.
No, but that is a part of their plan. Remember, we talked a lot about this when we had the finals in the Champions League, and we said, will they dare to stand that high? But that is Flick's system. That is how he likes to play. He feels then that the pressure is so high, and he have quick players at the back in Boateng, Sule, and what's all their names. But there were some surprises today. They put Pavard in again, who's been very bad lately. And they are vulnerable. They can score goals against them. And we tend to forget they have the best goalkeeper in the world. And they have saved them many times with that high line. And even today, he was a libero a couple of times.
The high line, Stevie. As a manager, you see what happens today. Like, wouldn't you be scared a little bit to move forward playing that way?
Well, I certainly would, and if you have a player, particularly in Sule, who Jan says is not slow, but I'm sorry, I'm not having that. then it's a gamble. But the problem is, this is the way the game's played today.
Right.
You know, the game's moved on. Well, part of the game moving on is that all the top teams and every team in Europe plays with a very high line. Now, there are fundamentals in the game, whether it was 100 years ago or yesterday. And that is, you cannot hold a line when there's no real pressure on the ball. But that's what teams are doing. And it's a complete gamble. And when it goes wrong, then you see what happens today, particularly with Bayern.
That on Sule and Alaba, or is that on Flick for not coaching him up?
Well, the 2 goals are on Sule for being in the wrong position. But the problem is, if you have such a high line and you've got one part of that line dropping off when they shouldn't be, then the whole thing is a complete and utter mess. The line itself is a gamble. But when you have one person who's not in tune with it, then you're asking for trouble.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.